This is Unrendered on IKtv. I'm chatting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Camillo Gonsalves. Camillo, yes, let's continue. What else do you know that the ex-deputy counsel was doing?
So what we know is, as I said, he was representing himself as having the ability to expedite or facilitate the green card process for people who are out of status. We know that he was charging them sums. The ones we have confirmed so far are in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000 US a pop.
Was this for the complete process, or was this just a deposit
in
his process?
That we don't know. And the nature of these things are sometimes that people are told that they have to provide more money later. But he was telling them that for this $5,000 to $6,000, the process would be completed within a 16 to 18-month window.
By which time he would have exited office anyway, because wasn't his contract coming to an end?
His contract would have ended before that window, but I don't know if what his own calculations are. I don't want to speculate as to what his own calculations are. He then instructed the people to get a medical done at a facility and get a report about the medical, which would, of course, lend some legitimacy to the whole process.
Was the facility, do you know, part of this whole
I do not know.
Scam?
I do not know.
Okay.
There are some people who are saying that others are involved. There was somebody in the INS, in the Homeland Security. There was somebody at the medical facility. We have no evidence of any of that. At this point, all of that is speculation. What we know is that he held himself out as to doing this. He charged people money. People gave him money. And that, of course, no one received a green card as a result of this process. Or maybe if someone did, they wouldn't tell us anyway. But certainly the evidence that we have is that of receiving money for a promise that was not fulfilled. Now, it is not the business of the Consulate General of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to engage in immigration lawyering or immigration processing or any matter dealing with that sort of interface. So
that's why you say it was outside
the scope.
That is
why I'm saying it is outside of the scope of the consulate. You clothe yourself in this. When you're the consul, when you're consul general, you have to commit not to do any outside work. If he wanted to be an immigration lawyer, if he wanted to be an immigration consultant, he would have to resign his post as deputy consul general because that is not what he was sent.
So I've never seen a contract or if these people take an oath, but is that enshrined in what they sign on to? Is that
a contract is signed that includes their responsibilities? I haven't seen Mr. Augustus's contract specifically, but when they are assigned, they are told very explicitly that they can't do any outside work. And they're told very explicitly, as I was told when I was ambassador to the United Nations, that this is your job, and you cannot bring the country into any disrepute by appearing to have authority or appearing to have roles or responsibilities outside those that are enumerated in your contract. So even if what Mr. Augustus was doing was completely legitimate, and he could do it, it would have been outside the scope of his employment, and he would have lost his job for that. Because you don't use your position as consul general as a launch pad to get clients or to raise money or to do anything to benefit you personally and privately. So that is the extent of it. Immigration lawyers are all a dime a dozen in Brooklyn and New York. Immigration consultants, people who say they can do these things for you, but they do not say or they do not appear to have any special leg up by virtue of the fact that they're diplomatic officers. So that is what he did. That was outside the scope of his employment, and that is what he did to merit the recall.
Here's a speculation that has gone ablaze. I must say I have not really seen it in the weeklies. But just after the story broke, you saw on social media, and I think I may have heard it in some of the quarters on the radio, that we could be in a position of jeopardy in terms of Vincentians seeking to get a non-immigrant visa or any sort of status in the United States. This could affect us. Could it?
No, it could not.
Why not?
Well, what has he done that we are aware of? to influence or involve in any way with the immigration processes of the United States, other than taking a fee from somebody. Have we misrepresented? Has the government indicated in any way false information to the government of the United States, or even I hear the government of Canada? No. This is a situation where somebody, for want of a better word, was preying on the vulnerabilities of Vincentians in the diaspora. Right. There is not interface between what he was doing and what states do in determining who gets a visa and who doesn't get a visa. No. I am aware, as you are aware, that there have been politicians in the past who said they wrote letters in support of people who were seeking Canadian residence or
some sort of status.
Some sort of status. That wrote letters supporting people, letters which turned out to be false. Those falsehoods by government officials can affect immigration status or how a country views the authenticity of documentation. But there's absolutely no evidence of that taking place in this instance. And there is no indication from the State Department, who we have spoken to, that they are bothered that this is affecting the process or in any way like that.
You've sort of preempted a question I was going to ask. Are you in touch, well, you've sort of answered it,
yes,
with the State Department? Are they investigating it in any way? Is it of sufficient interest to them?
The State Department is not investigating it. That's the short of the answer.
They don't see it as...
If in our continuing investigations, we were to uncover that there was somebody within Homeland Security that was helping him or some way, then maybe they would be interested. But as they see it now, this is an internal issue between the Consul General, a Consul General misrepresenting his authority to local Vincentians.
What are going to be the consequences of his actions in terms of, well, I read in the newspapers he's been struck off the payroll.
Yes.
He's not returned
no.
as he should have. He was recalled. He may or may not return. So the two-scenario question, if he does return, how is he going to be dealt with?
Well, while what we know Mr. Augustus has done was beyond the scope of his authority as Consul General, we are not aware that he has committed any crime at this point. So he's not wanted for a crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He has been recalled. He's no longer being paid, and he will not be working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or for the government.
So you're saying within the law, or the laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you cannot charge Mr. Augustus with any sort of criminal infringement, or there's nothing. I mean, he just comes, loses his job, and that's the end of that.
Based on the information that we have so far, Mr. Augustus hasn't committed a crime. Mr. Augustus may have defrauded somebody up there, but I don't have the specifics of what he promised or what the nature of the agreement was. If he says, give me some money and I can help you out, I don't think there's enough basis there for a crime even in the United States. But what he has done, what we know him to have done, doesn't amount to a crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
What if he doesn't come back? He just walks off the horizon, off the face of the earth?
Well, we've recalled him. And as you said, our expectation is that he returns, because when you recall a diplomat, he's to return to capital. He has yet to do that, which is disappointing. But his diplomatic visa would be in the process of being revoked by the State Department, if not already revoked. I don't know if Mr. Augustus has another U.S. visa in his non-diplomatic passport. I'm not aware of that.
But you can't touch that necessarily.
I can't touch that.
That's outside your ambit.
It's well outside my ambit.
Right.
All that we can do is recall the diplomatic passport and inform the State Department that he's no longer working, and at which point they cancel the diplomatic visa.
Right.
So I don't know if he intends to stay in the United States. I believe still that Mr. Augustus will return to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that he was probably caught a little flat-footed by the nature of the response and the uproar, and he's probably a little hesitant, but I'm speculating. But I still expect him to return home. If he doesn't, he's abandoned his post. People do this from time to time, and we expect he'll return to St. Vincent at some point. But that's speculation.
Now, given what he has done, what does this say about the government that has selected such a man to carry out such duties? Is it that this could have been avoided with greater due diligence?
I don't know. I mean, everybody has 20/20 hindsight in these sorts of things, and everybody is what they would call in the U.S. a Monday morning quarterback. But Mr. Augustus has particular talents that made him well suited for the position that he took.
And clearly he has other talents that made him well suited to go off on that tangent.
Well, let's talk about Mr. Augustus briefly and some of his talents. Prior to this story breaking, Mr. Augustus was receiving, and justifiably so, plaudits and congratulations for the manner in which he had handled the relief coordination for...
This is post-Christmas floods.
For the Christmas floods. Mr. Augustus, by all accounts, by those in favor and opposed to him, was proactive, was hands-on, sought out partnerships and cooperation with the private sector, with Vincentians in far-flung places. He stayed up all night. He built community, and he got people to donate. These are the sorts of things that we want our Deputy Consul General to do.
Right.
And so he had a number of talents that made him well suited for the post. So in that sense, based on his talents, he was well selected. Now, after the fact, of course, you can say, well, look at what he's done. He shouldn't have done it. And you can make all sorts of decisions. But I certainly understand why he was chosen at the point at which he was chosen.
And at that point, let's hold it there, take a break, and we come back and we look at your selection process for diplomats when we come back. This is Unrendered on IKtv. More with the Minister of Foreign Affairs when we come back.